Welcome to book club. We're talking about Babies Are Not Pizzas by Rebecca Dekker. She's the founder of evidence-based birth. So I read this book a while ago, I think last year, and it's a fantastic book. I definitely recommend reading it for sure. We are currently on chapters 4 to 6 right now. And she's just talking about kind of her journey of going from, so her first baby, she had a hospital birth, and now she's talking about how with her second baby, she had a hospital birth. And Rebecca Dekker actually worked at a teaching hospital. She was a teacher at a teaching hospital. So I'm just trying to catch you up a little bit so that we can talk about this next part. No. So it's interesting here that she wants a home birth, and she says something about not telling. She's about to knock herself out. She's talking about how she was afraid and ashamed to tell anyone about her choices to have a home birth. That just really sticks out to me. I can't imagine feeling like that when you're making this major life choice. What do you think about that, Delia?
I definitely can relate because it's just taboo. I've wanted some home births. My first one was home birth by accident. And I was kind of like shamed, like, oh, you didn't know about your body, you didn't know you needed to get to the hospital. And I was like, I was young, I didn't know, but I wanted home birth and I wanted a lotus birth, and everybody was like, I want to hold the baby, and I can't hold the baby if you do that, and I don't want to, and it's just like, okay, maybe I shouldn't, like, if you're not going to come visit us and you're not going to come see us because I want to do something different, then maybe I shouldn't. I also get shamed for breastfeeding because it's like, well, that means the baby's always got to be with you. It means we can never come get the baby. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can't do it then, maybe. And it was always by people that I looked up to, like mothers and aunts and mother-in-laws, and I was just grandmothers, and I was just like, okay.
So how did they feed their babies?
They wanted me to formula feed them, so therefore they were able to feed her. And I was just like, well, I could pump, at a certain point, I can pump and then you can, have the milk. And it was always like, well, what if I run out of milk? I don't want to do that, because what if I run out of milk? I'm like, well, I can make sure you have enough. So it was always kind of like I had to stand for it, but it was a fight. It wasn't just like, it was just kind of like, why do you want to be difficult? And I was just like, I didn't think I was being difficult.
Yeah, that's so hard. Yeah. To not feel supported in your decisions as a new parent. I mean, man, and to think you've got to hide your choice from, the people you work with on a daily basis. You're supposed to be able to be joyous about what's going on in your life, no matter how you're choosing to have your baby or to feed your baby.
Right, and especially like if you want to go natural, because that's always been a thought for mine. However, I didn't, just because I didn't know how, like, I knew my husband would be anxious if he witnessed me doing a natural birth, and I wanted it calm for him. Didn't go through it because I was like, I know I wouldn't be able to coach him through coaching me during labor. And so I was like, that's a little much. But even when you bring it up, it's like, why would you do that to yourself? it's kind of like a punishment, or like you're punishing your own self. Like, why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
Want to go through that? Like, why? Like,
Well, when you think about, she outlined some of the potential risks with epidurals and cesareans in this book. And when you think about all of those, you know, it's not necessarily beneficial to go that route if you're wanting to go natural, you know?
right.
But, you know,
And that part, even that part is like, oh, well, you know, everything has risks. Like, oh, you know, everything has a pro and con. It's just something you deal with. And it's like, oh, okay.
Why are you whining? Can you use your words and talk to me, please? What'd you do to it? Oh, yeah, you broke it. How'd you do that? Well, why don't you go get the nail clippers and we can clip the part off. So it's really interesting, but her journey through those emotions of, you know, her fear and shame led her to wanting to make a difference in the hospital for those people, women who cannot have a baby at a home birth, and for those people who are working in the hospital who want to make a difference, because she went and told her students about her experience and they were really excited. It's beautiful. They were really excited to hear her story, and they wanted to make a difference with their patients. And something she had, you know, one of them had said was, well, what should we do if we see non-evidence-based care? You know, because it happens. We see lots of non-evidence-based care. So let's talk about that. What should we do if we see non-evidence-based care? I know, honey. I'm sorry. We gotta trim it. I'm sorry. Go. You know, at the time, I don't think she really had an answer for them other than just continue with what you believe is right. But she does a lot of research as to, you know, how to kind of change birth and why it's so hard to change birth. Okay, hold on, honey. Like, change the experience of birth and how people respond to it. One of the questions she asks is, why are some people so resistant to change?
That's funny that that's one of the questions, because I just met a young lady in Texas on another mission trip, and I, you know, told her I was a doula. She's due this month, so we met her a couple weeks ago last month. So she was due in a month, and she asked what a doula was, which is a common question. And then I told her that a part of being a doula would help you with your birth plan, and she was like, huh? And I was like, yeah, like how you want, with your atmosphere, how do you want to deliver the baby, like what kind of experience you want to have. And she was like, I never knew you had a choice. Like, no one never asked me that. Like, I never knew that was an option. I just thought you just go to the house and you have a baby and that's it. And I was like, man, dang, like, even, you know, that's sad that even now you don't know that you have a choice. Like,
yeah,
like you have a choice on naming your baby. You have a choice on how you want to deliver your baby. And so when we went over things in the birthing plan, she was like, what, you can do that? Like, what, they allow you to do that? And I'm like, yeah, it's your body.
I get that same question a lot. And personally, I went through that with my first, you know, and I had done a lot of research with my first. I didn't know you could say no. I didn't know I could say no as long as I wanted to about procedures. So that's part of our role in educating people, in knowing their choices, that you can say no. But it brings me back to her same question of why are you so resistant to change? You know, why why not allow it to go in this certain way? Why not let the parent make that choice for themselves? Why only give them the information that you feel will encourage them to make the choice that you want them to make? Because we see that a lot too. But so she went through and she did some research and found some reasons, like personality wise, and not just personality wise. This part is fascinating actually to me. I find it so interesting how she learns about the stories we tell ourselves, behavioral norms, shared values and beliefs, and then the various rituals. Oh, Bubba, let's get that off your head. Thank you. Can I have that, please? Thank you. So all these things are creating a culture in the hospital, a norm in the hospital, you know, their standards of practice, so to speak. And it comes from the top down. So if you feel like you can't talk to your supervisor, or even if you feel like you can talk to your supervisor, but your supervisor can't talk to their supervisor about the things they're seeing, then it's not going to change because the top is resistant. The top doesn't want it to change. And then it creates this whole culture that everyone works within. He's got pull-ups all over the floor. So I found that really interesting. Have you seen things like that where you know a nurse or another provider who's been really supportive, but maybe their supervisor isn't?
Well, what happened was at my last birth, the nurse was trying to get the blood pressure for my client, and they were actually setting up because she was like 9 centimeters at this time. And so we were trying to like get her in position to start pushing, and the first read of the blood pressure did go through. And so she tried again, and she's like, well, keep your arms still and kind of like get yourself still. And you could tell the doctor looked at the nurse like, why are you trying to get her blood pressure right now? That really, really doesn't matter right now. She doesn't have blood pressure issues, and we're about to deliver a baby. So why are you? And the way she looked at her was like, naturally, instinct-wise, you wouldn't do that. Like, you just let her be. Like,
Yeah.
there's no need for it. But then she kind of like, I don't know if they just basically have a loyalty to each other, it seems, because she tried to downplay it when she noticed that I looked at her and the way she was looking at the nurse. And she was like, well, you could tell that men made these decisions, and you could tell men made the policy, but she didn't look free enough to say, you know what, we don't have to do that right now. Just probably out of fear of the nurse to go higher than the doctor and say, you know, I tried to do our procedure and she wasn't okay with me doing the procedure. And so, yeah, I noticed that. And I thought that was weird because I just thought they were all on the same page. Like, we're all doing this. We all think alike. But for the doctor, kind of like, I don't see, you know, why is that needed right now? Why that's necessary. It was shocking for me. And even positioning of how the client wanted to deliver her baby. She wanted to be on all fours, and the nurse was making it seem as if, oh no, we have to check with the doctor, and that might not work for the doctor. And the doctor was like, yeah, I think that would be fine. Actually, I think we should lift the bed up, and she can lean on her forearms, so her arms don't get tired and her hands don't get tired. And the nurse kind of looked at the doctor like, hey, you know, we normally don't do this. Like, why are you, you know, seem like you're being extra, pulling out more stops or giving her more privilege? Okay, you know, everybody's not on that same page, but no one seems bold enough to say, we don't have to do it that way. It can be different. It's okay if it's different.
Yeah, it's just not the norm. It's not what you're used to. So we have to rework our mind just a little bit in order to deal with this new circumstance. That's how I picture it, you know. You come in thinking it's going to be one way, and then things change. and you have to change and adapt with it. But I think that's kind of hard for some people to do, especially when they learn it this way.
Right. You've always heard it this way. You've always heard stories of this way, because a lot of women go in with the mindset of whatever stories that I've heard, that's going to be my story. And anything outside of that might not be right, because all I'm hearing is the same kind of story. And so anything outside of what I've been might not be right, and why, especially if you're not, I could definitely understand with the personality wise, if you're not the type that stands up for yourself a lot, or know that you can stand up for yourself in different settings, then it's like, oh, well, it's gonna be too much work if I try to press to have my way. Like, it might just be easier to kind of just do it however they want to do it and just be done. As long as and the common goal is, well, at least you came out with a healthy baby. At least your baby's healthy. So everything else doesn't matter if you and the baby are healthy. And it's kind of like, it does. I seen an article in the news feed, and a lady had a cesarean section, and they cut the feet and made a slash across the baby's feet. And they first called it a scratch. And then until they did more investigation around that, they actually cut the baby's face. And so when the reporters reached out to the hospital, their only response was, we're not sure why it happened. However, the baby is healthy. So we're all happy that the baby's healthy.
Well, that's great. That's the only thing we care about, which isn't true. That's not the only thing they care about, but they have to put a face on it.
Right.
Because otherwise there would be upheaval against them and against all. But that's just, man, that's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. I hadn't heard that story. Processing right now. Oh, I can't imagine having that happen. It's awful.
Right, especially them being of color. Told a liar.
Man. Let's see. I'm trying to find another point that stood out to me in these couple of chapters here that we can talk about. So she's talking about how she met Christine of Birthopolis. I think it's Birthopolis. Let's see. She became pretty good friends with her. And let's see. She talks some more about her history. How she went on vacation with her husband, and let's see. How she got pregnant again. Yep, it does. It does happen on vacation quite frequently. Let's see. She's talking about how a patient here was told that she had to labor in her bed, and the nurse had told her she didn't have to have the baby on her back, but when, let's see, I'm assuming when the doctor came in, it's been a little bit since I read it. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up again. But then she was told that she had to have the baby on her back, what is called the lithotomy position. But I don't know if this was Rebecca or Oh, it was a client that she's working with. Okay. And I think it's an Amish woman who had gone to have the baby at a birth center. So she's talking about kind of the rights related to having your baby and the right to have the choice, but that the choice is often either removed or kind of glossed over, you know?
Yeah, I've always heard that you can start off with a choice, but at the end, it's the decision of the doctor. What's comfortable for the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And I've seen that many times where, you know, a client tells me that, you know what, I don't want to have my baby on my back. But then when comes time to push, oh, did we freeze again? We're frozen. We're frozen. We're frozen all over. There, we're moving again.
Okay.
So I've seen it many times where, you know, a client tells me that they want to push in a different position than on their back. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can do that. You just have to move. You've got to tell the doctor that you want to move, tell the doctor beforehand that you don't want to be on your back. But each time it seems like we get there, it's time to push, and either they didn't tell the doctor beforehand, or they did and the doctor ignored it, or they just don't have it in them at that point to say, hey, I want to move. And I'll ask, do you want to stay on your back or do you want to change positions? And then they're like, no, I'm fine. Like, okay.
Yeah, because at that point, and that's what I was noticing with the last client, because at that point, even though she was complaining the whole time about being on her back, they just wanted her.
Mm-hmm. We froze it.
To be on her back. And the kind of sad part was I'm sorry, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
All right. Okay. And the sad part was that even though she got to labor a lot on her end to me, like she wanted to, they eventually turned her when the baby was crowned. And they turned her to get on her back, and we were like, the nurse was adamant about her getting on her back. And the doctor was like, well, maybe we could just do the side. Let's just do her kind of to the side. And you guys hold her legs. So it was like her shoulder, it was almost like wrestling. You know how they got to get both the shoulders down. And when you kind of pop out of it, you got one shoulder up. So she had like one shoulder up. Like, not totally on your back, but at least you got. And at that point, she was just like, I'm just trying to use my energy.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable. I just want it done.
Yeah, I just want to get it out. And so we were like, okay, well, at least we started, you know, on hands and knees. And you wasn't totally flat on your back. And, you know, so I had to weigh out the pros and cons. Like, okay, at least your legs can go in the stirrups. Like, we held your legs like you wanted to. And so we got something out of it. we
got some of what you wanted out of it.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I feel like sometimes it's not even that the birthing person is saying that they don't want to move. It's they're feeling the energy in the room that doesn't give them the confidence to say, hey, I don't want to be in this position anymore, or I don't want to be in this position at all, because they can feel the staff, whoever's there, whether it's a nurse, OB, whomever, is not going to be receptive to the request.
Right. Or even help them with it. You know, at that time, you're going to need some help, some kind of assistance if you already don't want to.
Oh, yeah, you definitely
like,
need help.
At this time, I can't even fight with you about it. Like,
yeah, at that point in their labor, yeah, I mean, you're totally focused in on what you're needing to do, and you're just following what they're telling you to do, especially if you're a first-time parent, a first-time mother, or, you know, it's your first time having a baby. You're not going to argue. You're not going to sit and say, no, I want something different, when you don't feel confident in your own ability to say that you want something different. But well, thanks for hopping on with me, Julia.
No problem.